wondered, what is ODSP? What programs and services do they have? And what it means to be eligible to get on the program. For those of you who don't know, ODSP stands for the Ontario Disability Support Program, and it's the financial assistance program in Ontario meant for individuals with a disability. And in this video, we're going to take a deep dive on what the program is, discussing how to be eligible, how to stay eligible, what type of services and programs that they help with people who want to seek employment or start their own. This video is meant for informational purposes only, and all things discussed are found from the official government website. So first, we're going to talk about the overview of the Ontario Disability Support. ODSP provides monthly income support and health-related benefits for eligible people with disabilities and their qualifying family members. And again, by disability, they mean people who have either a physical or mental health impairments, but this program is a monthly income support from the Government of Ontario for individuals with a disability. To qualify, you generally must be at least 18, live in Ontario, be in financial need, and stay within the ODSP asset limits. And those qualifications are obviously the ones outside of having a disability, because this program is meant for people with disabilities. But on top of that, you also have to, live in Ontario, be over the age of 18, and meet financial needs, and also, not have too many assets. That means that you're independently wealthy and don't need financial resources. Most applicants must show they have substantial physical or mental impairment expected to last at least 1 year and significantly affect daily living. And that's the main point of ODSP, because Ontario does have another program called Ontario Works that provides financial assistance for most people who live in Ontario, but ODSP is for people who have a disability, whether that be physical or mental health or other types of ailments. It is meant for people who cannot work because of their disability. As of July 2025, a single person can receive up to $1,408 per month for basic needs and shelter, with some people qualifying. And so with any program, they're going to start with the basic requirements, and that amount is just for a single person. But obviously, if you have a spouse and if they work, that will determine how much support you get. If you have children, that depends on how much support you get, because now you have dependents and whatnot. So that amount is not for everybody, but it's for a single person. ODSP reviews your household income, assets, family size, shelter costs, and some income and assets are exempted. So as I said before, they're going to look at the size of your family, whether or not you have children, how old they are, because obviously if they're under the age of 18, then they're considered dependent and whatnot. If they're over and they're working, that might affect how much income that you receive from ODSP, whether or not you have a partner, their financial situation. There are all sorts of factors that can decide how much income support that you receive from ODSP, but generally it's sometimes up to double what you can receive from Ontario Works. So if you are somebody who has a permanent disability and can't reasonably go back in the workforce, because Ontario Works is meant for somebody who just needs, a few years financial support until they can gain employment, then this might be a better program for you, specifically because having a disability has that much more cost associated to it. So next, we're going to discuss on how to apply and how to stay eligible. You can apply online, by phone, or in person for ODSP income support. An actual fun fact is that I didn't actually have to apply for ODSP. My mother was receiving financial resources for my disability when I was a child, and so I was kind of grandfathered into the program when I turned 18, and they notified me that I was eligible for ODSP when I turned 18, and so I can't remember what the program is called because it was over 20 years ago, but it's probably similar to assistance for children with severe disabilities. And so sometimes you don't have to apply if you have a childhood disability, but for those who don't, then you do have to apply into the program. ODSP reviews your financial situation by first looking at documents like income, shelter costs, bank statements, and other assets. And the reason why they do this is like they need to make sure that you are in financial need. They have to make sure that you're not receiving things like EI or other financial resources, like for instance, if you have insurance payout that you can, live on for a few years, like you have to make sure that ODSP is kind of like the last resort, and that's why they need a lot of documentation, including your medical information. So it's just to make sure that people who have the means to be independent are not using the system. If required, you must submit a disability determination package completed with the approval healthcare professional. And obviously, because it's meant for people with disabilities, that's why they have this disability determination package, because they have to make sure that not only do you have a disability, because the term disability can be a very broad range of things that are just impact you in a slight way versus impact you in a profound way and impact your ability to do day-to-day functions. And so they may want to know or will want to know that you have a disability that significantly impacts you, not one that is kind of a deterrent and kind of inconvenient, but not necessarily a big deal. These are for people who their disability impacts them in a traumatic way every single day. Some people may later have a medical review, and if ODSP denies your application, you can request an internal review and appeal. And obviously, everybody gets denied for different reasons, but generally it's like they might not feel that your disability is at the level where it impacts you greatly every single day, and so you may need to provide more medical information and more information about your condition, how much it affects you. For others, they may be rejected because their spouse maybe makes too much money, or they have too many assets that are outside of the limit. And so you really have to review those letters, because they give you reasons on why they've denied your appeal. They don't just say, you're denied, sayonara. Like, they give you bullet by bullet reasons on why your request and why your application has been denied. So go through it thoroughly, and if need be, go through with a lawyer to figure out how to give the correct information when you appeal or your second application process. The application process can take a few months, and Ontario Works may help while you wait, and the Canada Disability Benefit does not reduce the ODSP payments. So as I mentioned before, there are certain things that are exempt from ODSP asset or income limit, and that is one of the things is the Ontario Disability Benefit. They don't include that as an income that you receive. Also, ODSPs are exempt from your asset limit, and so there are certain things that you can have and still receive ODSP, but generally they want to make sure that you're not receiving too many different programs, like for instance EI, insurance payments, inheritance, things like that you could reasonably live on and not need ODSP. And as I said before, Ontario Works, that is a program generally for most Ontarians, and so you can get on that within a few days, whereas ODSP does take the time to do the application, have it processed, get your decision, get everything set up, and so, but it is meant for people with disabilities. That's why it takes longer, whereas Ontario Works is just a general financial assistance program for everyone. Now we will discuss what it means to be working while ODSP allows many people to work, attend training, or run a business while still receiving some. So yeah, there is the ability to either have a job or run a business while still be on ODSP, because especially when you run a business, like in the beginning, you're not going to have steady income, and so they do have certain amounts that you're allowed to earn, which I will discuss in a minute, and the breakdown of that, which is a little confusing, but hopefully I'll explain it well. If you're a person with a disability, the first $1,000 of net earnings is exempt, and 25% of additional earnings are also. Now, based on my understanding and my experience with having to do these calculations, so whatever you make in a month, the first $1,000, they're not gonna like penalize you for it. And then above $1,000, they will look at what's the 25% of above that $1,000 limit. So again, math is not my strongest point. I'm a social worker for a reason. So you do have to look at the website and see the different calculations that you have to do. But there is a little bit of a cushion. Essentially what this part tells you is that there's a little bit of a cushion of what you're allowed to make before you have to worry about having your income reduced. ODSP may also provide $100 work-related benefit, childcare help, startup funding, and an employment transition benefit. So yeah, there's a lot of different programs and services and benefits that are meant to help people with disabilities either gain employment or start a business or continue employment. They really do try to help in many different areas, including childcare. And so you can really find different supports in this program to help you start the path of getting off the program and getting into a job that makes you happy. You must report employment and training income every month through My Benefit, IVR, or the reporting form by the required date. So a little bit of fun fact is that if you have a job through like another employer, then yes, you have to report your income every single month. But if you actually own your own business, then you report the income that you have for the whole year and you submit that in January, and that determines how much support you get the following year. So let's say in 2025, if you made a certain amount for your business, then that'll determine how much financial support you will get in 2026, rather than it affecting you month after month. So take of that what you may. Some people do decide to then do, self-employment or start a business rather than working for somebody else, because you can report the information a lot easier and it's one reporting during the year rather than sort of a month-to-month thing. You still have to follow up with your coordinator every single month, so you're not exempt completely, but the full report and the full deductions of how much support that is decreased by your income is more broader and more like impacts it in the next year if you do own your own business. Some student earnings may be fully exempt, some work-related costs can be deducted, and rapid reinstatements may help you if you need ODSP again after working. When it comes to the student part, during my time in university, for like my bachelor's and my master's, I'm pretty sure every single year what I got from OSAP was fully exempt from my ODSP income limits and stuff. So you can have support for that. Now, having said that, the catch is that you have to report that to OSAP, and so OSAP will give you money for tuition and stuff, but they won't give you money for living costs because ODSP is what pays for living costs. So you don't get like extra money and like double dip or anything. It's just like they will subtract what you would need for living costs because they know it's being met by ODSP, and then ODSP on their side won't include what you get from OSAP towards your income limit. And also, there's some people who are afraid that if they get a job and they come off ODSP, that they may have to go through the months-long process of coming back onto ODSP and whether or not that's really worth it. But the fact that they do have a rapid reassessment or reinstatement program proves that you don't have to necessarily go through that whole process, because you have proved, if you're on ODSP, you have proved that you have a disability that significantly impacts your life, but that you are able to find a job that works with your disability. And if that job doesn't work out anymore, or your disability has gotten worse, and you can no longer keep employment, you basically have done the burden of proving that you have a disability to be on the program in the first place. So reinstatement is actually much more straightforward and takes much less time. And that's it for today's video. As always, all the programs discussed will be linked in the description. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to drop them in the comments. And also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps my channel grow. And watch some of these other videos that YouTube has recommended.